You can always tell when a space has been designed with uncompromising passion. And this next beautiful country tiny home is a perfect example of just that. Hi Barbara, it's so nice to see you.
Hi Bryce, it's lovely to have you.
This is an exceptional tiny house that you've built here, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, we're really proud of it.
I can see you have not done anything by halves here, have you?
Well, all the people that have been engaged and working for it have done such a great job. We're so thrilled with it. It's just lovely. And every little piece has had somebody's fingerprint on it. Not mine, but it's been great.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of your design and your influence in all of this anyway. Can you tell me about what it was that actually inspired you to do all of this?
I've spent some time, I've been over in Brisbane for the past 5 years, and while I was over there, obviously COVID hit, we had lockdown, I couldn't get back home, and I really got engaged in YouTube and living big in a tiny house. And
Wow.
so I watched them, and I was really envious, and then suddenly I thought, hold on, actually this could work. I knew that we had the property here, and it all just fell into place. And so I took all of the best bits that I could think of, and I got home and moved into thinking about go mode. Let's get the tiny house. And in between time, my long-suffering husband persuaded him that this was a great deal. He should be buying into this with me. So we've had a bit of a journey, but it's been lovely.
I love it. Now, you don't live in the tiny house now, but this is part of your retirement plan, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've got a reasonably large property, so five acres here. But what we wanted was something that actually we could have on the property, that when we felt like we weren't going to be able to get up onto the lawnmowers anymore and do the lawn mowing, that we'd be able to pick it up and take it and maybe go and live by the sea. That's the ultimate option, but actually it was all about having somewhere that we could use as a place that was a joy, really. We originally thought about putting it up as a B&B, but actually what happened was the interest in the tiny, and then friends and family, we had some illness in the family and things happened, that actually we haven't needed to do that. So it's been a really interesting time.
Yeah. Well, until you're ready to move it by the ocean somewhere, what a phenomenal place for your friends and family to enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is actually quite a big tiny house, isn't it?
Yes.
What
yes.
size is it?
It's 11.2 metres long, 3 metres wide, and just over 4 metres high, I think.
Wow.
And so it's not considered tiny in any way, but actually it's just a great size. It's a perfect size. And there's the two of us and two wee dogs, and they all sort of make themselves at home. And then we've got the grandkids coming, we've got full house. So yeah, it's a good size. And the thing around this design was the downstairs bedroom, because it's got the two lofts, but we never intended to use those as bedrooms. But the downstairs bedroom was a big draw for us.
Yeah, I can really understand why. And then you've significantly increased your living area with this amazing outdoor space as well. Yeah. This is impressive.
We supersized in our world. We thought, how big do we go? And then we thought, no, let's go the full Monty. We're going to do the 3 metre out. So we've actually doubled the size. And, you know, we had such a great time in thinking about how it was going to look. And the other thing that I found was that when we talked with people that were helping us, you know, to do things, like Ian and Hannah helped us with doing the deck, and they had such great ideas, like how to put the roof on so that, you know, it wasn't going to get too much shade or too much light, and how we got the guttering done, all of those things that you don't necessarily think of, but are actually really important.
And you've got the bath there as well. That looks so good.
Yeah, I know. It's the ultimate sort of cliche luxury, isn't it? But I'd have to say it's a big draw card. I don't have to worry about the grandkids never wanting to come. It's like, it's a bath.
I'll say. And again, you have just done absolutely nothing by halves here. The landscaping is exquisite.
We couldn't have asked for more. You know, we were really fortunate. We had a glass house that we'd had from a previous place, and it was getting a little bit worn and torn in its place, and I'd have to say a bit neglected. And it just seemed perfect. And so things really came together. We were really fortunate.
Yeah.
And so really pleased with it. And it's such a joy to look out on it now. And it's not a great upkeep, which is great.
Yeah. And this house is very stylish as well. You've got that beautiful, slick, black exterior with the pops of timber coming through.
Yeah, it was pretty deliberate. I mean, again, just absolutely exploiting the YouTube experience of the people that had already gone before in tinies. And I know it's quite popular, the black and the wood, and we knew that it would weather, and it has a little bit at the top, but this probably won't with the deck on it.
No.
But we're really pleased with it, and it fits right into this landscape. It doesn't stand out, and I guess I'm a lot like some of the other people I've seen on your episodes. I'd get tired of colour really quickly,
Yeah.
so the black was just a no-brainer for us.
Yeah, I think there's something about the black, particularly in a natural landscape like this as well, that also makes the colours around it pop so much more. Like it makes the greens that much more vibrant and the red and the flowers that much more vibrant.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really makes it stand out. But it's really nice when you stand back and you can see when the flowers are out, and it really just looks like it's always been here, which is lovely.
Yeah, and you've done such a tidy job with all of the install, the way that you've got the water tank situated, the grey water, all of that. It just looks like it's meant to be here.
I guess I am a little obsessive about the planning, but you know, that's a good thing, I think, about you project manage everything.
Yes.
So I did have all the steps done. So when it came to putting it all together and clicking it together, it just worked. We've got the grey water system, which was really clever, just a trap that they can put in, and the plumbers came, you know, from locally. We tried to do as much locally as we could. So yeah, we really benefited from all of that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, already from the outside, I can see this is a very impressive tiny home, and I cannot wait to see what you've done on the interior. Can we have a look?
Come on in, Bryce.
Thank you. This is absolutely stunning. What a spacious feeling home.
Yeah, it's really good. I think the ceiling really helps because there's nothing in between you and getting that ceiling height. So you don't feel enclosed in here, which is lovely. It's a really nice feel.
Yeah, and the way that you've got the high shutters, all of the glazing on the banisters and everything, I think just really adds to that sensation of spaciousness.
Yeah, and again, you know, absolutely stealing from people's ideas. I think it was Jess had the shutters on her one. Love them. The only worry I have is when I have my grandkids here, we do have to zip lock them together so they won't open because they're a bit adventurous. So it's not unusual to walk in the door and having someone yelling at you from up there going, look, I can jump from here, which is not where we want to be. So we do that. The glazing was really interesting because there was originally banister rails and then it was a bit open. But because we've got the two wee dogs and the grandchildren, I shouldn't put them out of priority, grandchildren first. I didn't want anybody falling through or coming through.
Yeah.
So that was a great solution and it works really well. And because you can see through it, the light comes through, which is really nice. So it keeps it really nice and light.
Such a lovely position for the couch as well, to just be able to sit there, open up the bifolds and just take in that view. Well,
it was one of the little luxuries, really. My daughter-in-law and I went shopping one afternoon, and it's always a mistake to go shopping with no real sense of where is all this going to fit. And we saw this couch, and because I've got the TV up on the wall, it made sense to get it made sense to us to get a reclining couch.
Yeah.
So we did.
Well, between the big television and the recliner, it's like having your own cinema, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfect. I have no shame in saying I often have a cinema for one. So more than happy. There's just enough room on the couch for a glass of wine and sit and watch whatever show I want to watch on the TV. I don't watch the rugby. And you can just open it all up and you open the doors, and if you want to watch TV you can, and if you don't, you watch the rabbits and curse silently that the rabbits are all jumping around outside. So
eating all your veggies.
Yeah, eating everything. They eat everything.
And then of course for the colder days we've got the wonderful wood stove.
Again, another non-negotiable, and
yeah.
I'd seen a couple of versions. I know a lot of people have the Sparkies as well, but there's something about the Roaring Meg. As soon as I saw it, it was like, I just have to have it. I've been so pleased with it. It's such a great wee fire.
And there's just nothing cozier than being by the fire, is there?
I know it seems like a bit excessive because a lot of people when the fire went to go in, it's like, but Barb, it's going to take 10 minutes and the whole house is going to be like overly heated. But actually it's not. There's a fan on the ceiling and that helps move it around.
Yeah.
And then by the time the fire's on, even just keeping it banked down low, it's just a really nice thing. And you don't always have to have the TV on, so it's nice to have the fire.
Oh, absolutely. And then there's the two lofts up there as well. What's happening up there?
Right, so the design had 2 lofts, and obviously you could use them for bedrooms if you wanted to, but we made a decision pretty early on that, you know, this is about us really, primarily.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a space for work, but I also wanted another place for reading and just having a bit of space that's not down here. It is a bit like a thoroughfare sometimes when you've got people here. So it's nice to have a place where you can go and just lie and read the books and get the view from up there and get the sun, and it's really good. And the working space works well. And yeah, it just seems to be pretty seamless.
I think that's some really smart design, especially with having a place to separate the work, because you don't want to always have to look at that. There's something about, like, if you're looking at a desk and a bunch of work that needs to be done, it makes it that much harder to relax. So being able to tuck that away, I think, is really nice. And then also just having a space where you can close yourself off, retreat from the world, read a good book. I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice to have one space where you're not connected, where it's just books.
And this kitchen is palatial. You are not wanting for anything in this kitchen, are you?
No, I really enjoy cooking, and it's something that I just take a lot of pleasure from. And I wanted the kitchen to be really useful and functional, and it is. It's a really functional kitchen. It's actually got a really good space for working, and it's got a nice flow from, you know, we've got the dishwasher, the fridge, the stove, and it works really well. And by the time you've opened up the bifolds and that's all open, it's just in and out. It's really easy. I've been really pleased with it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Beautiful styling in this kitchen as well. I think you've really nailed that sort of farmhouse country aesthetic.
Yeah, I really wanted that white look, and I think it's worked really well. It's not too precious, because I think that's one of the things that, you know, you can get a little bit over the top with it, and it's not meant to be precious. It's meant to be worked and lived in. So
very true. Kitchen needs to be usable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And no shortage of storage in here either.
Lots of storage, and really carefully thought out. The cupboards go back quite a long way, and you've got the swing cupboard that comes out, and you can put everything there. And I've filled it completely. It didn't take much. I filled it completely, and so everything that I could possibly need, I have here. And the view is pretty good, really.
Yeah.
All the way around, so really lucky.
Absolutely. And can we have a look at the bathroom next?
Yes, come and have a look.
All right. Oh, this is a really nice design. I love the way that you've tucked the shower in there, and that's a lovely vanity with a big mirror.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, bathrooms are always the smallest rooms in the house, but they're actually really tricky to make sure you can fit everything in. And so I didn't want to compromise too much on the shower, because I think it's really important that you've got enough room in a shower. I don't think there's anything worse than cold glass in the shower as you're trying to move around. Is not great.
Yeah.
So I think that works really well. And the mirror was just such a good size in terms of, I bought it back. I actually bought it back from Brisbane. I purchased it and then just kept my fingers crossed they were going to fit it in. And I think we got it in within millimetres, because it is a really big mirror.
Yes.
But it works really well there, and it does make the space seem a little bit bigger when you're inside. So it's worked really well.
Yeah. It's nice having the back door in there as well.
That was a bit of future-proofing, really, because I needed a dog door for the boys to get out, and so that worked really well. But also for later, we thought we might, if we ever wanted to do a pod or have a back porch, and I know people talk about having 2 ways of exiting, so it all just seemed to be a sensible thing to do. So it's fine. We actually haven't used it because it's a bit of a drop. The dogs couldn't get up, and if they went out, they'd fall a bit of way down. So that we haven't fitted it for that right now, but it's ready for when we want to.
Yeah. And you've chosen to go with the incinerating toilet here.
Yeah, we did. It was a bit of a no-brainer for me, really. I guess I had probably a very unnecessary fear of composting toilets and what that meant, and a lot of, I guess, accessory things that you would have to do. And the incinerator toilet just seemed like a really clean, tidy option that was easily installed, and I don't think it causes people too much stress around it. It's pretty simple rules. You do have to convince people that flames will not be coming up from the toilet seat, but once people get past that, I think it's been a really good option for us.
Yeah, nice to have a warm seat on a winter's day.
I wasn't going to mention that, but yes, it is a bit of a novelty to have a warm toilet seat.
And what do we have tucked away in here?
So we've got one cupboard in there, and I really wanted to have room for a washing machine. I've got half linen cupboard and half washing machine, and it seems to work really well in terms of that. And you know, there's us here, and you just turn it on and that's fine.
Yeah, excellent. And next up, we've got your bedroom. Can we have a look at that?
Come and have a look.
I just love this design. There's something about having the full ceiling height in the bedroom that just feels like such a luxury in a tiny house.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're in a tiny house, does it?
No.
No, I feel like that too. It was such a great height, and also the windows were really well placed, I think.
Yes.
We actually took one window out because I wanted to put the artwork on the wall.
Right.
And so we took one window out, and I don't think we lost anything. I think it's made it really good. We've got the doors, and obviously, you know, you can open the doors right up, and it is just lovely to be here and be able to be in bed and look out.
It's great how you've accentuated the height using the feature light as well.
Yeah, it was one of those things I thought, what do you put as a light coming down? And it's probably not hugely practical because it doesn't shed a lot of light into the room, but we've got the lights on either side of the bed, so if you want to read in bed, that's fine.
Nice design with the bedside tables and the wardrobes as well.
It's one of those things that when you see it on the paper, it sort of doesn't quite make sense until you see it all in place, but it has worked really well. And the nice thing about the cupboards is that you can actually reach underneath through, and it gives you a space that you can put things like charging for phones and things like that.
I think in the early days of tiny homes, one of the things that put a lot of people off of the idea of living in a tiny home was the idea of crawling into a sleeping loft at night. And this is the absolute antidote to that, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think I did look at that and thought, there's no way, there's no way you're going to get up there and then crawl in and crawl out, and let alone someone with height, and you certainly have got that. And it's just a great feature, and it makes a difference, I think, for the tiny house.
And I think the thing that I really like about this particular design as well is that the bedroom very much feels like a sanctuary right at the end of the home. It's sort of like this very private corner of the home that is tucked away. You've got the view out onto your private bath area and everything as well. It really does have that kind of sanctuary feeling to it.
You're right, it does feel a bit like it's a wraparound in here. You can be here and be quite separate. And even if the rest of the house, you've got other people, whatever, you do feel like this is really private. And it's really nice. It's nice to have that feel of being able to retreat. And that was the whole purpose of the tiny, was to actually have that bit of retreat.
I can really see how much thought and effort you have poured into the design of this home. Having the house all set up here now and it being sort of just a short walking distance from the main house, how do you feel about the future potential transition to living in this home now after having it sort of here and being able to experience the space now?
The thing about it is that it feels really different from being in a full-size house. There's something really freeing about it.
Yeah.
There's something that you walk into this house and it feels like, yay, I can just sit down and relax.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest challenge to downsizing will be for you?
My books. It'll be my books.
I understand that.
That will be, I think, the hardest.
So we'll come back in a few years and there'll just be 2 sleeping lofts absolutely jam-packed with books.
and hopefully in order and all tidily arranged. So there won't be any mess, but it'll be tidily arranged. But no, it'll be the books.
Fair enough too.
I guess the tiny is just a really safe place for me to come, and it's a really nice place. There's a feeling about it that I like to be able to share with people. So whether that's my family or friends, I really like that ability for people to come and say, oh, I hope you enjoy your time here and it feels really good, and I hope you feel like that when you've had the space here. And universally, everybody that stayed has said that it's been a place of just a nice place to come and spend time. People have really enjoyed the space, and that's entirely what it was aimed to do.
This is a tiny house where I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it looks like you have spared no expense. Can we talk about the cost that was involved in building this home?
My husband would totally agree with you about no expense spared. Look, the house, just as it stood without any of the added bits in, I think there's around 250 something, 259 now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. Would I change anything is probably more important, and no, I wouldn't.
And I completely agree with that sentiment as well. I think especially in your case, where you are looking at this as a future home for your retirement, I think spending the money to get things so that you're absolutely happy with them is undoubtedly the right way to approach it. It's so important to make sure that that smaller home is exactly to your taste and liking.
And I think people don't regret buying quality, they don't.
No.
And it is something, you don't want to be looking at something and think, think, oh, if only I'd have spent another, you know, $10, $20, $30 and got that in, I wouldn't even think about it. And I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. And your husband, PK, who had to be gently encouraged into this process, what are his impressions of the tiny home now?
He does occasionally refer to it as the she shed, which is a bit challenging. But I think he really enjoys it. I think for the same reasons that we always intended, that, you know, it's when you come down here, and we spend way more time down here than we ever thought we would. Far too much time down here. And you have a couple of glasses of wine and you're sitting out on the deck and it's like, this is just great. I think he really enjoys it. His passion is the gardens. So he spends a lot of time thinking about how the gardens will look and the landscaping and, you know, the plants and things like that. So I think, yeah, that brings him a lot of joy.
Yeah. Well, I just think you have created a truly magical home here. The quality of this build speaks for itself, and I think whether you move into this space one day or whether it remains a very special place for friends or family, regardless, you have constructed a wonderful home that you can be immensely proud of. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you for coming, Bryce.
My pleasure. This is a luxury tiny home executed entirely without compromise. I can really tell that Barbara has thought obsessively about this space, and she's obviously had a fantastic time in bringing this dream and vision to life. This is a home where, regardless of its future use, it is perfectly executed, and right now, I know what I'm doing tonight.